is a little link. Okay, so we can add a little link to the source in terms of media image. So it says Tony Blair, for example, began with a positive media image and public image, but was widely mistrusted when he left office in 2007. So what we can make a link to here is media and public image, okay? In this case, for Brown, in terms of his ability to deal with the financial crash in 2008, his media and public image was negative, okay? Second example, we've got Cameron and the EU referendum result in 2016. Now, obviously, Cameron held this referendum and he had banked on the result being Remain, okay? And the government was sort of, they were banking on this to be a Remain result, and they were sort of, what's the word? So, what word am I looking for? What can we say about the Tories?
What were they banking on?
When they called this referendum, obviously they were banking on it to be a
yeah. Cameron and his closest advisors were expecting it to be a Remain result. So yeah, I think banking's the right word. Anticipating might be the right word. They're anticipating.
They were overconfident.
Yeah,
they were definitely overconfident and complacent. So they were overconfident and complacent, and basically he screwed it up. Yeah, because obviously, as we know, with the result, it ended up being Leave. Okay. Now Cameron then was in this position whereby he felt the need to resign. Now the reason why Cameron resigned was because of the fact that he felt that he was no longer in a position to take the country forward. Okay, so examples to dominate, examples of prime ministers not being able to dominate events. Again, in terms of your mini judgment, you need to assess, okay, what impacts the prime minister's ability to dominate the UK political system. Now, obviously, these are circumstances, again, which are events beyond his or her control. So, over time, as we can see, the Prime Minister's ability to dominate the UK political system fluctuates, it ebbs and flows according to events which can occur beyond his or her control, okay? Events which occur unexpectedly, which a Prime Minister is required to respond to. So that, again, reiterates and reinforces in our mini judgment that line of argument, okay? Third paragraph. Again, you can do a fourth paragraph as well afterwards, perhaps on maybe patronage or media image. The third paragraph, will focus on foreign policy. So prime ministers appear to be more dominant when they are conducting foreign policy abroad, okay? So in terms of quotation marks then, more dominant when they're conducting foreign policy abroad. Again, in your signpost sentence, quoting from the source specifically to ensure that you're making it incredibly clear to the examiner that you're making use of the source. Now, in terms of ability to dominate, then, again, we can use the example of Thatcher and the Falklands War in 1982, as that was a success, Blair and his interventions in Kosovo in 1999, and Sierra Leone in 2000, which were ultimately successful, and then May, who was able to, in Syria in April 2018, order airstrikes as Commander-in-Chief of the armed forces. Now, it's important then to make the link that prime ministers are more dominant when conducting foreign policy abroad because they've got the raw prerogative power of Commander-in-Chief of the armed forces. Now, your counter-argument, okay, there's two things that you can add, okay? So you can talk about August 2013 when Cameron, who is a politically vulnerable prime minister under the coalition government, tries to get a vote passed in the Commons to invade Syria. Now, as we've discussed in lessons, the reason why Cameron does this is because he does not want to exercise his power as Commander-in-Chief of the armed forces just in case anything goes wrong in Syria, because of the fact there's an election coming up in 2015, and he does not want to be held solely responsible for anything that goes wrong in Syria. Okay, so the Commons here, they refuse to approve British intervention in Syria. Okay, and that is so significant because traditionally prime ministers have been dominant when conducting foreign policy, and there's not been any sort of serious limitations on their power. Okay, so they refused to approve it, and then Cameron was asked to make a statement in the House of Commons where he promised that he would respect the vote of Parliament and would not invade. Obviously, as we know, Cameron went back to Parliament in 2015 to again ask the Commons about invading Syria, but he used the excuse of fighting against ISIS. Okay, that time it was approved. Now, in terms of another argument here then, where prime ministers are not dominant when conducting foreign policy abroad, is we could talk about Blair and the Iraq War. Okay, so we can talk about Blair and the Iraq War in 2003. Now the source says then, Tony Blair, who specialised in foreign policy initiatives, notably in Kosovo, Sierra Leone and Iraq. Of course though, it was a military intervention that ultimately led to his downfall. After the aftermath of the 2003 Iraq War began to deteriorate and the uncertain legal basis for the war was revealed, Blair's position in the country and inside his own party became untenable. Now, it was basically the fact that he had produced a dodgy dossier and argued in front of the House of Commons that we need to invade Iraq on the basis of weapons of mass destruction, which were ultimately never found, that led to Blair's public approval rating falling, and it basically positioned him as a prime minister who became unpopular inside his own party, which ultimately forced him out in 2007, and a prime minister which was unpopular amongst the public because the public felt that he was wasting his resources abroad in Iraq and that the war was really, really unnecessary. So just a few things to remember, okay? Always quote from the source. Make sure you embed your quotations throughout the essay, okay, from the source to show the examiner that you're using it. Now, this will guarantee you high AO1 marks, okay? Secondly, in terms of structure, introduction, define key terms, outline your argument, 3 to 4 main body paragraphs. You all know how to structure those, and you've been structuring those brilliantly from the start of the year. And then finally, your conclusion, whereby you reiterate your argument. Ensure then that you maintain a consistent line of argument throughout your essay. Now, the best line of argument to pursue to get a high level 4, a level 5, is the argument that the Prime Minister's power to dominate the UK political system, it varies according to circumstances, and as a result of that, the Prime Minister's ability to dominate is likely to fluctuate, okay? It ebbs and flows according to those various set of circumstances, and those set of circumstances can be whether they have a majority, minority or coalition government, whether they're impacted and affected by events which occur beyond their control, how far they're able to control foreign policy abroad, and things like control of the cabinet, and also in light of their power patronage, and also how well they're respected in front of the media. But that's that.